"Your Honor, you have to listen to me," she screamed, her voice cracking between masculine and feminine registers. I can't go to a men's prison. They'll kill me in there." The judge looked down at the defendant with cold eyes. "Mr. Hayes, for 3 years you've insisted this court use male pronouns. You've demanded to be treated as a man in every legal proceeding. You've told us that anything less is discrimination, and now you're asking for special treatment?" 6 months earlier, Jordan Hayes had posted online, "I'm more of a man than any biological male will ever be." Now facing 40 years in a men's maximum security prison, those words would come back to haunt her in the cruelest way possible. Before we dive into this shocking case, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. We cover the most twisted true crime cases every week. Drop a comment and let me know where you're watching from and what time it is, because what you're about to hear involves ideology, violence, and a courtroom decision that sparked national debate. This case involves a trans individual, but this story is about murder, not about being transgender. The vast majority of trans people are non-violent. This is about one person's crimes and the justice system's response. This is the story of Jordan Hayes. Born Jessica Hayes in a small town outside Portland, Oregon, Jordan transitioned from female to male at 19 years old. To friends and family, the transition seemed to bring happiness. Jordan adopted male pronouns, underwent hormone therapy, and eventually had top surgery. On social media, Jordan posted about finally feeling authentic, finally being the person he was meant to be. But beneath the confident exterior, something darker was growing. By 23, Jordan started experiencing doubts, not about gender identity exactly, but about the path chosen. The women Jordan dated weren't interested. They'd go on a few dates, things would seem promising, and then they'd drift away. Some were polite about it. Others were brutally honest. "You're not a real man," one ex-girlfriend told him during a breakup. "I need someone who was born male." Each rejection cut deeper, and instead of processing the pain, instead of seeking help, Jordan found a target for the rage: biological men. If men weren't so privileged, Jordan reasoned, if society didn't worship biological maleness, if women didn't prefer them, then none of this would hurt so much. The logic was twisted, but in Jordan's mind, it made perfect sense. Men were the enemy. Men were the reason for every disappointment, every rejection, every moment of dysphoria. Jordan's social media became increasingly hostile. Posts about toxic masculinity, rants about male privilege, and eventually, barely veiled threats. The world would be better without them. Jordan wrote in one post that got thousands of likes, "Sometimes I think about what I'd do if I had the chance." Friends who knew Jordan dismissed it as venting. Just online anger, nothing serious. But Jordan wasn't venting. Jordan was planning. The final straw came when Jordan's most recent girlfriend, Sarah, broke up with him after 6 months together. She'd been kind about it, explained that she wanted to date someone who could give her biological children someday. It was her choice, her life. But Jordan didn't see it that way. Jordan saw betrayal, and when Sarah started dating a man named Brad just 2 months later, the rage became uncontrollable. Brad Morrison was 28 years old, worked as a software engineer, and had no idea he was being watched. For 3 weeks, Jordan followed him, learned his routine, his gym schedule, his favorite coffee shop, the route he took home from Sarah's apartment. Jordan documented everything in a notebook, planning the perfect moment. On a cold November night, Jordan waited in the parking garage of Brad's apartment complex. When Brad's car pulled in, Jordan was ready. Armed with a baseball bat, wearing a hoodie to hide any identifying features, Jordan approached as Brad stepped out of his car. The attack was brutal, fast, efficient. Brad tried to defend himself, but he never had a chance. When it was over, Jordan left a handwritten note tucked into Brad's jacket pocket. 4 words: "One less problem solved." Police found Brad's body the next morning. The investigation began immediately, but Jordan had been careful. No witnesses, no cameras in that section of the garage. The note suggested a targeted attack, but investigators had no leads on motive. Sarah was devastated, told police she couldn't imagine who would do this. She never mentioned Jordan. They'd broken up months ago. It never crossed her mind. But Jordan wasn't done. The murder of Brad hadn't brought satisfaction. It had only proved that killing was possible, that Jordan could do it and get away with it. And the rage toward men hadn't decreased. It had intensified. 2 months later, Jordan met a man named Tyler at a local bar. They talked for hours. Tyler was kind, funny, interested in Jordan's art. They went back to Tyler's apartment. But during intimacy, Tyler realized Jordan was transgender. He wasn't angry, he was apologetic. He explained he was looking for biological males to date, that he should have asked earlier, that he hoped there were no hard feelings. He asked Jordan to leave. Jordan saw it as rejection, as proof that biological men would always have the advantage, would always be chosen over someone like him, and in that moment of rage, Jordan's hands found Tyler's throat. Tyler struggled, fought back, but Jordan didn't let go until Tyler stopped moving. Afterward, Jordan calmly left the apartment, wiped down surfaces, and walked home. Tyler's body wasn't discovered for 3 days. The third murder was the most random and the most telling. Jordan saw a man sitting alone in a coffee shop. His name was Marcus. He was reading a book, drinking tea, minding his own business. He had no connection to Jordan, had never met him, would never know why he was chosen. But to Jordan, Marcus represented everything Jordan hated. He was comfortable in his body. He existed in the world without question. He was everything Jordan felt he could never be. Jordan followed Marcus home, knocked on his door claiming to need help with a broken-down car. Marcus, kind and trusting, stepped outside. Jordan stabbed him 14 times, left him bleeding on his own doorstep, walked away without looking back. This time, Jordan made a mistake. Posted on social media just hours later. "Men deserve what's coming. We're taking back what's ours." The post was vague enough to seem like political rhetoric. But investigators, now working 3 separate murder cases, noticed the timing, noticed the pattern. And when they dug into Jordan's online history, they found a trail of increasingly violent posts, all targeting men. Jordan Hayes was arrested at home, surrounded by journals filled with rants about biological males. The evidence was overwhelming. DNA under Tyler's fingernails. Security footage placing Jordan near Marcus's neighborhood at the time of the murder. Digital breadcrumbs linking all 3 crimes. But the most damning evidence was Jordan's own words, documented across years of social media posts and private journals. The trial became a media spectacle, not just because of the 3 murders, but because of the identity politics surrounding the case. Jordan insisted on being addressed as Mr. Hayes, demanded male pronouns, corrected anyone who slipped. The defense team wanted to argue that Jordan was a vulnerable female who needed protection, but Jordan rejected that strategy completely. "I am a man," Jordan stated firmly in court. "Treat me as such." This created an impossible situation for the defense. They couldn't argue female vulnerability when their client insisted on male identity. They couldn't claim Jordan was mentally ill due to gender dysphoria because Jordan maintained that being trans was not a mental illness. Every strategy they tried, Jordan sabotaged by insisting on being treated exactly as he demanded, as a man. The prosecution laid out the case methodically. 3 men, murdered over 6 months, all killed by the same person, all targeted because they were biological males. They showed the jury Jordan's posts, his journals, his own words confessing to a deep hatred of men. When the prosecutor asked Jordan directly, "Mr. Hayes, did you kill these 3 men because you hated them for being men?" Jordan's answer was chilling. "I killed them because they represent everything wrong with this world." The victims' families testified. Brad's mother spoke of her son's kindness, his plans to propose to Sarah, the future that was stolen from him. Tyler's father described a young man who was compassionate and creative, whose only crime was being honest about his preferences. Marcus's sister wept as she explained that her brother was a stranger to his killer, selected at random simply for existing. Through all of it, Jordan showed little emotion, sat at the defense table with arms crossed, occasionally shaking his head when testimony didn't match his worldview. The only time Jordan reacted was when the prosecution showed photos of the victims. Then, just for a moment, something flickered across his face. Not remorse exactly, but perhaps a recognition of the reality of what had been done. The verdict came back after only 4 hours of deliberation. Guilty on 3 counts of first-degree murder. When the forewoman read the decision, Jordan didn't flinch, didn't cry, simply nodded as if this was expected. The judge set a sentencing hearing for 2 weeks later. The sentencing hearing should have been straightforward. 3 murder convictions. Life in prison was almost certain, but there was one complication that had been building throughout the trial. Where exactly would Jordan Hayes serve that sentence? Jordan's defense attorney stood and addressed the court. "Your Honor, while my client identifies as male, he is biologically female. For safety reasons, we request placement in a women's correctional facility." Jordan immediately interrupted. "Don't call me he when you mean female. I'm male. Use the right pronouns." The attorney tried again. My client is transgender, male identified, but we believe a women's facility would be. Jordan cut him off again. I'm a man. I should go where men go. The prosecutor stood. Your Honor, the defendant has made his position clear throughout this trial. He has insisted on male treatment in every aspect of these proceedings. The state sees no reason to deviate from that now. Jordan nodded in agreement. Exactly. I'm not asking for special treatment. The judge looked down at the paperwork in front of him, looked at Jordan, looked at the victims' families in the gallery, and then he spoke. Mr. Hayes, you've been found guilty of murdering 3 men. Before I issue your sentence, I need to address the question of facility placement. Your attorney has argued for women's prison. But you've rejected that characterization. You've insisted, repeatedly and forcefully, that you are male and must be treated as such. Jordan nodded. That's correct, Your Honor. The judge continued. Then the court will honor your stated identity. You are male, by your own declaration. You will be housed in a male facility. For the first time in the entire trial, Jordan's confident expression cracked. Wait, what? You demanded to be treated as a man, Mr. Hayes. The court is granting that request. Jordan's voice went higher, more frantic. But I didn't mean, Your Honor. You don't understand. I understand perfectly. For 3 years, you've told everyone you're male. You've threatened legal action against anyone who suggested otherwise. You murdered 3 men while claiming to be male yourself. The court respects your identity. You're going to men's prison. Jordan stood up, no longer caring about courtroom decorum. I can't go there. They'll kill me. I am male, but not like that. Not. The judge's voice was ice cold. You can't have it both ways, Mr. Hayes. You insisted on male treatment. You're receiving it. Jordan's attorney tried to intervene. Your Honor, my client is biologically female and... I'm not female, Jordan screamed, then realizing the trap. I am, but I'm also... The words tumbled out incoherently. You can't send me to men's prison. I'm not a real man. Jordan stopped, horror spreading across his face at what had just been admitted. The judge seized the moment. So you're not a real man, Mr. Hayes? Is that what you're saying now? After 3 years of demanding recognition as male, after murdering 3 people while claiming male identity, now you're admitting you're not male when it's convenient for you? Jordan was crying now, all masculine affect gone. Please, Your Honor, I can't go to a men's prison. They'll hurt me. I'm vulnerable. You're a convicted triple murderer, the judge interrupted. Your vulnerability is noted. You'll be placed in segregated housing within the men's facility for your safety. But make no mistake, Mr. Hayes, you chose to be treated as male. You insisted on it. You murdered 3 men while claiming to be their equal. The state of Oregon will honor your wishes. 40 years in a men's correctional facility. No possibility of parole. Jordan collapsed into the chair, sobbing. The confident facade was completely gone. I didn't mean it, Jordan whispered. I'm not a man. I never was. I just wanted. But the judge had already moved on. Bailiff, remove the prisoner. As Jordan was led out of the courtroom, still crying, still trying to explain that it had all been a mistake, the victims' families watched in silence. There was no celebration, no satisfaction. Just the quiet acknowledgement that justice, however complicated, had been served. Jordan Hayes is currently serving 40 years in a men's correctional facility in Oregon, in a segregated housing unit for vulnerable inmates. Jordan writes regular letters claiming the sentence was unjust, that the judge was transphobic, but those letters notably avoid mentioning the 3 men who died, the 3 families still grieving. The violence that brought Jordan to that courtroom in the first place. Brad Morrison would have been 30 years old this year. Tyler Chen would have been 27. Marcus Williams would have been 33. 3 men, with futures, families, friends. 3 men who died because one person's rage needed a target. If this case left you speechless, hit that like button and subscribe to Lethal Tales. We cover the cases no one else will touch, the stories that challenge everything you think you know. Drop a comment with your thoughts and let me know what case you want to see next. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.